All right. Are you ready, Commissioner? Okay. Welcome back, everybody. We're going to go ahead and come back into our briefing session. Next up is Choice Regional Health Network, JP Anderson. Hello and
Hi.
welcome.
Hey, thank you for having me. I sent some slides along. I'm not sure if those are available to you already. And if you're looking at those and it's easy for me just to go off mine, or you'd
Yeah,
like me to share screen, or how you'd like to proceed.
Commissioner, I have them in front of me. Do you have them, or do you want to have them share?
If he's comfortable sharing, I think that's good for the public to view.
Okay. Go ahead and see if you're able to. If not, we will
Yeah, I
have.
was going to say that's maybe.
There you go. It's working.
Is that working? You got it?
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks, everyone. It's great to be with you this morning, commissioners. My name is JP Anderson. I'm the CEO here at Choice Regional Health Network. Excuse me, Choice. We've changed our name recently. I'm still calling it Regional Health Network. We are a community health organization improving care and equity. We are an ACH, and so we're one of 9 in the state of Washington. We are an accountable community of health, and that's what ACH stands for. As you see here on the slide, we serve everyone in the jurisdictions of Thurston, Mason, Lewis, Cowlitz, Pacific, Grays Harbor, and Wahkiakum counties, and the sovereign nation of Chehalis, Cowlitz, Nisqually, Quinault, Shoalwater Bay, Skokomish, and Squaxin Island tribes. ACHs are regional organizations that work with their communities on healthcare and social needs related projects and activities. That's the most broad definition possible there. We were established as one of 9 in the state of Washington in 2017 by the Healthcare Authority to be neutral conveners, investors, and coordinating bodies for healthcare between the healthcare delivery system and local communities, known as Medicaid transformation. ACHs are funded through the Medicaid Transformation Project to do this work. And as you may have heard, we are on the precipice. In fact, we've already started Waiver 2.0 in many ways, but it was a long-standing project that went for actually 6 years, 17 to 23 for Medicaid Transformation Project 1.0. And that would be a whole different slideshow, but I'm going to talk a little bit about what's on the horizon with Medicaid Transformation 2.0. And at any point, if there's a question, please don't hesitate to jump in and ask. I'll kind of go through some slides, and there's kind of 2 sections here, but happy to jump in on anything specifically or circle back around to clarify something. So the next transformation project will happen over the course of 5 years. Like I said, it technically started July 1, 2023 and go through July of 2028. Unlike the first waiver, which had a lot of different project areas that ACHs and their communities could choose from, this one's really focused on establishing a statewide network of community care hubs. And so what that means is we will be building a hub here and expanding on our current hub here in Central Western Washington to screen for health-related social needs. That's the new benefit, the new benefits that are in the waiver, meaning a waiver meaning that Washington State will be allowed to pay for services to the Medicaid population that normally aren't in that formulary that's an allowable expense. The idea that it will be studied, evaluated, and the hope is that it's able to increase access, improve health outcomes, and drive down costs. So we'll be screening for health-related social needs. Those will be the actual benefit, the HRSN as well. And we'll be doing that in medical settings and social service settings and other settings as well. Could be that we're able to expand and have screening and referrals coming from fire, from EMS, from libraries, institutions like that as well. And those HRSNs will be delivered not by us, but by community-based organizations. So those are providers that are local to Mason County or maybe local to a couple counties in the region. And the idea is, and the value proposition for an ACH is that by centralizing that contracting component and the requirements, to 9 locations in the state, we're able to really provide a lot of support to those community-based organizations, and we're able to create that funding stream with those healthcare dollars that would be very onerous for each of them to do with healthcare authority, with the managed care organizations that pay for those benefits, et cetera. So our combining of those requirements into a single contract and payment structure is how we support community-based organizations. We do the network development. Sorry, I had a little typo there in my slide. And that means working with, making sure our providers are ready to deliver that work, have the policies in place that our funders would require them to have if they're going to be sending referrals and making payments to us. We manage the contracts, and again, we make the payments out to the community-based organizations through choice in most instances. Like everything we do, we're intending to improve health outcomes and reduce overall costs. That's really what ACHs are here to do, is to take on these pilot projects, work to address these underlying health-related needs, and watch health as a result improve and therefore costs decrease. Another piece about this waiver is there's a really large reentry component. I'm not sure if folks from Mason County have heard, there was a briefing by the Healthcare Authority a couple months back, or maybe right before Christmas. There will be more information coming out soon. It's really compelling. The waiver actually extends for 90 days pre-release to pay for everything on the Medicaid formulary as far as medication, and to make sure that those community-based care coordination services, how those HRSNs are delivered. Case management services is another way to think of the community-based care coordination, making sure that they're connecting with those folks in custody in order to give them the best chance at success on the way out in addressing those health risks. Like everything, when you're trying to do it on a statewide level, the timing of it is never quite as quick as you hope for or want. Like I shared, it started in July. We're still negotiating the contract with Healthcare Authority, and in fact, they're still negotiating it with CMS in Washington, D.C. on the specific service protocols. But by the end of 5 years, all of these services will have gone live. And when I talk about specifically what those services in the next slide, hopefully that's a bit more clear. But all of these things I'm about to share here will be live benefits that are eligible to folks on the Medicaid population who have been deemed to need them. And that will be described by a physician or other healthcare provider that can say recuperative care and short-term post-hospitalization, also thought of as respite care, reading here from my next slide at the top. That would be something that's a 6-month benefit for housing and supportive services after hospitalization for folks who are homeless or in danger of becoming homeless or otherwise being readmitted if they don't have that benefit. I won't go through and read each of these, but it's a really broad range of benefits. It's a huge investment to do that for the state of Washington for these 5 years. And as a social worker and primarily working at the county level in community mental health, jail, and court services, I know these are the very benefits that can really make the difference in a transition reentry plan of giving someone a really hopeful start at turning things around, or recovering from substance use, behavioral health issues, housing, homelessness, housing insecurity. So if you look at these benefits, they're really broad. They're pretty profound, and that there is rent assistance, there is nutrition support that includes pantry stocking, medically tailored meals for folks that need it. And so again, a really incredible waiver with an incredible suite of benefits to be associated with it. I've gone fairly quick through that part, and so maybe I just pause if there's any questions.
Not for me right now.
All good.
Great. Well, I'll just share, we have a Pathways program that started as part of the first waiver. It was sometimes referred to as the hub and spoke model. And what that is, we're the hub in that scenario, and our contracting partners throughout the region are the spokes, where they would be identifying folks who need this elevated level of case management. Typically Pathways is for folks who are experiencing homelessness, don't have a primary care provider, need to get enrolled in behavioral health services, or have other significant and usually multiple social determinant of health risks, things that they don't show up necessarily on your health record, but they certainly often define what your health outcomes are going to be. And so that's been growing over the last 5 years. And the last year was a pause, so we're in between waivers, but Choice elected to continue to grow and to support our Pathways work, knowing that it fit very well and that workforce capacity in our region was going to be critical as we went into the new waiver. We have 90 community health workers in Central Western Washington through 10 providers doing this work currently. We have 1,400 clients throughout the region that are being served. 700 of them are homeless at this time. And so we can see that this program is really serving those folks with those high level of needs that it's intended for. And I'm going to do a little snapshot of what's currently happening in Mason County with our Pathways program. I'm going to share data from the last, well, before I do that, got a little ahead of myself. I'll talk about what those different pathways are. And so these are the areas when a person comes into one of our providers and starts to do Pathways work, that they will go through a checklist and they'll see which of these areas can we help support them in. You can see we've got a variety of things here, include baby items and shower services, as well as food assistance, housing assistance, et cetera. So there's quite a range. And what we're finding, which is really incredible, and I think kind of the key takeaway with our Pathways, is that even for folks who are homeless and who show up in the coordinated entry system looking for help, that don't get that benefit, that don't get that housing, that financial support to get into a place immediately, as they go through and address these other challenges in their life, we're finding that many of them do ultimately find permanent housing. And I think the intensive nature, the ongoing connective relationship with the community health workers in this program is really what does that. So recovery often is a winding path, and I think ongoing support on all these areas kind of build the building blocks of recovery for many folks, whether that's from substance use, behavioral health services needs, or housing. Here's the services currently being provided in Mason County. And we've got 2 that are active right now, and Mason General, which stopped doing it this year. As you can see, they had a lower level of pathways that were being completed. We have found that generally in a medical setting like Mason General, it's not as easy to get kind of the workforce thinking about doing pathways with every patient. We can see here with Crossroads and with Youth Connection in Mason County, they're doing significantly more. We're working on that. We've got a pilot project with Peace Health in Cowlitz County. They're actually paying to bring in Pathways folks into their hospital, and we're studying kind of how those workflows can be improved. We hope to bring it back and at least the screening element in the new waiver to all the hospitals. But if you look at what's happening in Mason County here with Crossroads, a majority of those are associated with food assistance. Still a large number of them being connected with housing assistance, 163 of the 1,760 pathways that were completed. Financial assistance, family assistance, which can be a lot of things in supporting the family member who's not actually the identified client that's enrolled. And then if you look at Youth Connection, again, food assistance being a big one, clothing assistance, transportation assistance, housing assistance, again, being noted there. We just did kind of the top 6 there for each of the providers. This is great work. It's a growing area because we did add Crossroads and Youth Connection and started to pay them for Pathways work last year. So they've really been growing in capacity to do that work and provide those services in Mason. But it's still relatively small compared to the benefits that will be available with the new waiver and the level of community-based care coordination that our hub will be supporting in the region. A couple other things. I'm happy to stop if there's any questions on Pathways or that slide. And then I've got this is my last slide here.
No, I'm good.
Great. I just wanted to share also, we had an emergency services and solutions grant that we administered this year. In fact, it started with work to provide some funding to Community Lifeline last February. We funded that. They were needing some more funds to extend their cold weather single overnight shelter till the end of the cold season. And so we were able to help with that. This year, we helped them with some other functions around operations. You can see helping them with their laundry, maintenance, helping them with some bed bug issue they had. Glad they were able to handle that. And then we also funded Gethsemane Ministries. We know they're a Mason County provider. They applied for these funds to help support them in doing the transportation work that they do, connecting folks with inpatient treatment, often obviously out of county, and needing funds for the costs associated with that. So we were able to help them at $24,000 this year as well. Kind of a quick set of slides here. I know you guys probably have a lot you're getting briefed on today, but happy to answer any questions, circle back around on anything, or follow up with more info if that's what's needed.
Hey, if you don't mind, if you could stop sharing so I can see you better.
Sure.
Just talking.
Sure. Let me figure that part out. Okay. How do I stop sharing? Now it's not showing up on my screen. Let me see. There
There
it
you
is.
go.
Got it.
Okay, one of the Commissioner Shitty, would you like to go ahead and go first?
No, good. Go for it, Commissioner.
Okay. One of the things that I would like to see, if you don't mind, is share the contracts that you have with them, folks. I'd like to see how they are showing what your expectations are and how they are showing and meeting those expectations. Because I'm looking at our own contracts as well to figure out how things mesh and where they go. We've had an issue where we felt like one entity was not following through with what they had promised in order to receive funds. So that's why funds were cut, and apparently some of that was picked up by you. So I'd be curious to see what your matrix is for showing that the services are being provided in order to receive the funds, or if you're just giving it out without that.
Yeah, so what's exciting, I should have covered this with our pathways. All of those fundings are outcome-based units. And so we don't actually fund for FTEs. We pay for the completed services with the individuals. And so they go through an intake process. They identify pathways. We approve that they can work on those pathways with them. So it's a value-based contract paid only for performance, so only for services rendered. In the area of emergency grants, emergency solutions grants, I think was the full title. We do that based on an application with a pretty low level of response, in that was a specific fund created by our board to do specifically that, to make money available in kind of a quicker fashion for urgent needs. As for specific contracts, I'd be happy to share kind of our template and you can see how we're doing that. I'd want to, of course, work with the provider to share that contract specifically, but they're generally all the same for pathways in that outcome-based unit. What's the best way to kind of get you guys that material?
You can send it to Mark, or you can send it to our emails. Either one would work. I also, I'm curious if there's possibilities that there is compensation coming from both ends for the same thing too. So that's another reason why I'd like to see what that looks like. And if you are a public entity at all, then those should be readily accessible. That shouldn't be an issue if we ask for them, right?
Well, we are private nonprofit 501c3, so we're not a public entity in that ways. But I still want to make those available. I just want our partners to know that
But
we're
were you putting out public funds with that money, or are you just putting out your own?
So we received these funds from Healthcare Authority. We did receive a competitive contract to become the ACH. So we are a nonprofit who is using state. We have received a grant and have deliverables we meet to the state, but we're not a public entity in the way that, is traditionally considered a public entity.
No, I understand. We work with quite a few of those. Just understand that if that is government money that you're putting out, there is a paper trail that is expected and access to those. But I hope you reach out to get that to us anyway, because we'd like to verify that the funds are going out where they're supposed to, how they're supposed to, and that they're not the same funds that we're giving for.
Okay, yeah. One thing that is good to know, so many of our providers also do like foundational community supports, which is another funding entity, or a coordinated entry provider. So I think it's Crossroads is a coordinated entry provider there in Mason County. Many of our partners are also coordinated entry providers. So it'd be great to connect, understand kind of those deliverables. They're probably different, even if they're similar in that they're serving the same population, but happy to connect and follow up on that.
Thank you. Commissioner Schutte?
Yeah, just I appreciate those questions, Commissioner. The only thing I was going to mention was just an appreciation for helping get Gethsemane funded for their transportation project. That's a huge benefit to our community. We have been funding that as a pilot out of treatment sales tax, and so I think we're really interested in seeing that continue, since it does meet one of the identified gaps that we have in the community for getting people into treatment and services and to support their path to recovery. So I wanted to take an opportunity to just publicly thank you and Choice for stepping up on that, and hopefully we can figure out on our end, what the future of our contributions look like to a transportation program. But to know that we have you and your funding in there as well is a big help to us. So thank you.
Absolutely. And in the new waiver, in the stabilization services category, it includes some transportation. Again, we're still doing rulemaking and hearing how that's going to be interpreted by healthcare authority. But transportation is a huge barrier, a huge driver of inequality in regional parts of our region. And so it's absolutely an area we're interested in better understanding. When it's appropriate to spend more money for more gas, sometimes it is. When there are creative solutions around access, telehealth, et cetera, we hope to help leverage those. So appreciate that, Commissioner, and really appreciated the request and the information from Gethsemane and the work they do.
Yeah, thank you for that from me as well. Mark, do you have any questions here? I'm missing the commissioner, so I'm going to use you.
No, I thought it was a great presentation. I actually learned a lot. Thank you.
Anything further, Commissioner Schutte?
No, I just appreciate your time. I didn't know if Dave, actually maybe Dave, I didn't know if Dave had asked to have this put on, so I don't know if Dave has any comments or would like to follow on as well.
Hi, Dave.
Good morning again. No questions from me.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Mr. Swanson, we thank you very much for coming today. I hope that we hear from you shortly and we get to talk to you again soon. Thank you.
Have a great day.
Next up, we're going to go to our WSU Extension. Hi, Dan. Welcome.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Thank you for having me again. This is our typical, every few months, we send you a report of kind of all the great things we've been working towards here with our office and our community. I'm not going to read the report, but there are some gems in there that I do want to highlight. Our 4-H program is really taken off, which is fantastic. We are finally over that hump of COVID and all that good stuff that comes with that. We have a wonderful outreach program happening once a month called Clover Kids. We have a robotics program happening, and our summer camp counselor training series is underway. Once a month, they get together. We're training over 40 youth members to be counseling staff this summer. So they do a full day of training once a month, and team building, communication, all that good stuff. So the camper ratios are really interesting. We're doing 100 campers to 40 youth staff. So it really turned more into a older youth leadership training program, which is fantastic because they're using those life skills for the rest of their lives as well. And then one of our unique youth programs that I'm really happy about is our 4-H Tech Changemakers program. This is youth who are interested in teaching digital literacy. So these youth are at the library locally about 3 or 4 times a month, and they're helping citizens with cell phones. They're helping people set up email accounts. They're teaching classes on password safety, things like that, just your basic skills to help people get better connected. This is part of my push for broadband expansion throughout Mason County. So this is using youth to teach that because they're more digital natives with that language anyway. So that's our 4-H program that's kind of happening. A lot of great things happening there. Master Gardeners, they're wrapping up their Through the Garden Gate series. That's a 6-session class on horticulture and agriculture. We had over 70 participants per class, which is fantastic. A wonderful opportunity that those volunteers put on. Our Small Farms program is doing a septic workshop with their public health department coming up March 21st. Really important to have your septic tanks maintained and serviced on a regular basis. And then what I'm really happy about is we're expanding our Small Farms program. We're launching a Intro to Beekeeping class this Thursday. That sold out. It was free, but you had to register. That sold out in 4 days. So really happy to see people are interested in learning about beekeeping in our area. So that we'll be expanding that program coming up. Our SNAP program is working quite a bit in the farmers market, getting ready for that series coming up, as well as with the Pioneer School District Community Garden or School Garden. They do quite a bit of work up there with those classes and students, getting fresh vegetables into their curriculum and their school. And I invited Heidi to be on this call as well. Heidi Steinbach is our new noxious weed coordinator for Mason County. This is her second week on the job. So what a great way to introduce you to the commission, Heidi, and for the commission to get to know you. Heidi has some big things on her list coming up. We have a perennial pepperweed grant that we signed on to beginning of the year that Heidi is going to keep moving forward with us right away. So Heidi, do you want to say a few words?
Yeah, hi. Thank you for the introduction, Dan. I'm Heidi Steinbach. I'm the new noxious weed coordinator for Mason County. I work out of the WSU Extension office. It's been a good first week here. I'm excited to be back for my second week, and I'm getting ready to go to the Noxious Weed Coordinator Conference this week. So it's been quite busy since I started. So yeah, please feel free to reach out if you want to touch base or have any questions about noxious weeds. I'm really happy to be here with Mason County.
Wonderful.
Welcome.
That is my report for you, Commission. Pretty exciting stuff. I'm very proud, as always, of our staff and our relationship and our community support in our programs. It's a wonderful community to work in here in Mason County. Do you have any questions for me?
I do not. Kevin, do you have anything?
No, first, just welcome, Heidi. Good to meet you. Appreciate you stepping into that role. And Dan, I guess, at some point, now that legislative session is over, it might be a good opportunity for us to re-engage on the broadband discussion and take a look at what might be available with offices, broadband office at the state level. And I know United Way has been working on some of the just tracking some of that, but just think that maybe here in a couple of weeks we can all get back together and look at what we might be able to support.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I'll set up a meeting with you, Kevin, and we'll get something scheduled for sure. So,
great.
Thank you all.
All right, and again, welcome, Heidi.
Hey, Dan, what kind of position openings do you have on your noxious weed board now? Just 4 and 5?
Just 4 and 5, I believe. We have 2 board positions open still, correct. And in my onboarding with Heidi, that is on her list of goals for 2024, is to fill that board.
So commissioners, if you see the map there on the materials, if you know individuals in that area that might be interested in participating on our noxious weed board, I appreciate you reaching out to them and encouraging them to get involved.
Well, and again, what were the requirements though? Because that was not an easy one because they had requirements in order to sit on there. What was that again? Hit the public with it, please.
Yeah, the requirements are you have to have 10 signatures from your local constituents to support you to be part of your application to the commission. It's a commission appointed position. 3 out of the 5 positions for the Noxious Weed Board have to be primary producers in agriculture. That's an RCW requirement. We're going to be pretty gray in that area of what a producer actually means. And really, we're looking for folks who are interested in supporting removing noxious weeds from Grays Harbor or from Mason County. So people that have a passion and interest of supporting that is to reach out to Heidi or myself in the office and really making that happen. Heidi, did I miss anything on that?
No, I think that's about it. And yes, encourage anyone to reach out if they are interested. I'm happy to talk more with them and provide them information about the obligation of being on the board.
If I could ask you, if you could maybe send somebody to the Farm Bureau when they have their meetings up north. Primary farmers are, in my district, I can tell you, are extremely hard to come by.
You're absolutely correct on that. And Mason County is not unique with that. The RCW was written a long time ago in this area. And I know there's some work to look at that RCW. But like I said, we're looking for anyone who's interested in supporting the removal of noxious weeds. So we'll talk with lots of folks about that for sure.
Yeah. All right, anything else for Dan?
Yeah, Dan and Heidi, just looking at the district maps, how do those boundaries get drawn? Are those through RCW, or how did we end up with
Yeah,
them
those are through
supporting-
RCW and the State Noxious Weed Board. We don't get to control those, unfortunately. I haven't gone about a plan of or a process of redistricting. I bet you we could through the commission do something like that. But yeah, it's a unique breakup for Mason County. And Commissioner Netherland was absolutely right. Finding primary producers in Mason County is really hard. But we use the term loosely. So
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
guys, thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you. Nice to meet you all.
Be nice to meet you.
Welcome.
Next up, we're going to go ahead and move on to our Mason County Clerk, Charles Rhodes.
Yes,
Welcome, Charles.
thank you very much. And good morning, everybody, Mark, commissioners, and everybody else. I wanted to discuss a little bit briefly as far as the clerk's office update. Effective, and you have it in front of you, effective 3/18/2024, the Superior Court Clerk's office will remain open additionally from 12 to 1 p.m. The front counter will be manned by deputy clerks from 8:30 to 4:30 without interruption. Extending our hours will better serve our community, allowing our customers to do business during their lunchtime without having to wait for documents any longer than necessary. And that is as per a release that I would like to get out to the media.
Thank you, Charles. So now, my opinion on that, I first of all, I have no issue with us doing it if Commissioner Schutte agrees with the reading on there. Are you going to read it, or do you have somebody else that will come to read it?
I will read it. I just read it to you, but I will read it. Yes.
Yeah, well, if you came on a Tuesday to do it, that's what it would entail, is bringing one of your staff. So with that, though, I do want to thank you. I'm in favor of bringing it forward for you to read, and I want to thank you. Anytime we give the opportunity for the public to be able to be taken care of during lunchtime, which is sometimes some of the only opportunities they have, I consider that a win-win for everybody. So I very much appreciate it, and I'm thankful that you're doing this.
Commissioner, the problem that we were having is, for example, they would be in the court at 11:30. By the time my clerk came downstairs, they would have to wait until 1 o'clock for their documents.
Yeah.
Or they'd have to come back another day. And many times that's not appropriate. So this we think that, and I have a full staff. So we think that this will better serve our community.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Commissioner Schutte.
Yeah, great. Look forward to you reading it tomorrow.
All right. It's okay to go ahead and send somebody over, or come yourself tomorrow to read it into our regular meeting.
I will do that. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Do you have any questions for the clerk, Commissioner Schutte?
I do not.
Neither do I. Thank you very much, Mr. Clerk, and have a great day.
Thank you very much, folks. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Okay, so next up, I have Public Health, Dave Windom.
Good morning. So this morning we have two things on the agenda, and Melissa will be presenting both of those.
Hi, Melissa. Welcome.
Good morning, commissioners. First item is the North Mason Regional Fire Authority Mental Wellness Program contract. So you might recall this is something that the board had approved back in September to do a one-time funding out of the Treatment Sales Tax Special Project Fund for the ARNP, or the Psychiatric Mental Health Nurse Practitioner in North Mason. So this is just the contract. We ask that we can add this to the March 26th action agenda for approval.
Commissioner Schutte?
Yeah, absolutely. Great program. Happy to get the contract signed.
I also agree. Everything they touch turns to gold. This is a wonderful thing. I'm glad we can all partner together. This is needed everywhere. I'm hoping it's as big a success as I think it's going to be, and it becomes the new norm.
Great. Thank you. Second item, we actually have a guest with us, Colleen Carmichael from Executive Director of Quixote Communities. Before I hand it over and have Colleen share a little bit in more detail, I think I'll do a little bit of a brief introduction on this item. And a background of kind of what the fair market study is, how it kind of originated. So our homeless service providers, they presented previously to the Mason County Housing Authority as well as the Housing and Behavioral Health Advisory Board, just to share kind of what their experience has been with clients having difficulty locating units in Mason County within the allowable rate for the Section 8 vouchers, which are actually managed by the Bremerton Housing Authority. The providers are proposing a study to adjust the fair market value for rents in Mason County to make them more available to renters. So the ultimate request here, I think, is for the board to discuss any funding recommendations, should we decide that a study is warranted. For example, I think previously ARPA might have been on the table if there are still available funds. I don't know if that would be considered an available use for a study like this. But I'll go ahead and hand it over to Colleen and maybe share a little bit more in detail. Colleen, I do have a few data points that if you have them available, that might be helpful for this discussion. And those would be how many people are currently on the Bremerton Housing Authority waitlist that are Mason County residents, if you have that. If the study were conducted, and let's say the FMR were to be increased similar to the way that it was when Kitsap did this study, I think it was by 20%, how many more residents in Mason County could we have housed with the Section 8 vouchers? And then I did see some conflicting information on who the study was conducted by, if it was WSU or UW. So I think as we go through the conversation, and ultimately decide a study is warranted, who would a contract be with to actually conduct the study? So with that, I will hand it over to you, Colleen, if you want to share a little bit more in detail.
Sure. Some of the answers that I have available, obviously I'm not a housing authority, so I don't have the information that the housing authority could provide, but I did ask Jill Stanton if she could be on the meeting today. And as of yet, I haven't seen her join us, but hoping that she will. One thing I do want to remind the commissioners is that you had a housing needs assessment that was done in December of 2022. And as part of that housing needs assessment, one of their recommendations was to do exactly what we're suggesting, which is to have a housing authority come in and do a study to see if we could get the fair market values raised by HUD. And I also sent you as an attachment what the current fair market value rates are for HUD, as well as what are some of the going rates. And on that needs assessment that was done, there was a shortage of 651 units. So I would imagine that's only gone up. So I think that somewhat answers the question that Melissa asked about how many people are we talking about? And that was in December of 2022. And that's a study that was done by the FCS group. So as far as how many more will be housed, as I said, that's a number I think we can rely upon. I do not currently know what the Bremerton Housing Authority waitlist number is. But I have a note to ask Jill that question if she doesn't come on, and then we can get that information to all of you. But the main reason we as providers wanted to do this and wanted to have this study done, and it is by Washington State University. That is the one that I sent. That is the one that was used at Bremerton Housing Authority. There may be other providers that can give you a study. They are known to work studies well. They are able to submit the studies to HUD, which is also important. The cost of doing studies like that is approximately the amount that they stated, which I believe is $74,000. So it is a cost for sure. There's a gap that exists. It will always exist until we get this adjustment made. So it's just a matter of deciding whether or not the county feels that this is justified, the expense of this is justified. And based on what we're seeing as homeless service providers, there is a great need. And also for the landlords that want to rent to our residents, they are going to be able to get something closer to what the market value of their rent is versus having to make a decision on their own well-being versus the well-being of the people that they're trying to serve. So I think it's kind of across the board. It sounds like it might be a win for everybody, but I gave you as much data as I thought was necessary, just so you understood what our reasoning was. But again, I'm not a housing authority, and Jill with Bremerton Housing Authority would probably be able to answer more specific questions about that.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna go ahead and jump in first, unless you want to jump in first, Commissioner. Okay, first of all, thank you for being here and for the presentation. I was in the Housing Authority meeting when you were talking to them here in Mason County Housing Authority. A few points I want to put out there is a shortage of units. Getting these numbers will not necessarily allow for more of the units to be filled because they're already filled. We have a shortage of units, period. But there is another benefit that comes with it. I want to say that I already recognize this in my own heart, as this is also a way for those entities that do rent it out to be able to be more self-sufficient and to receive the monies that they're looking for to do it. So I don't want to be confused that one changes anything else. The only thing that's going to change that is the ability of actually building more units, getting more units out here. But the truth is, the more we can show profitability, the more chance there is of somebody going to build them. Especially if you can bring in those Section 8 vouchers. I get asked about that stuff all the time, and they wonder how to lock that up. They look at the numbers and believe they could do better just up the road, and that's true. So with this, one of the things I'd like to ask, though, is if you wouldn't mind, I think we should consider it as a county. I think we should get ready to go, but not necessarily that we pay it all. But I would like to see an actual proposal put together that we will work with Washington State University or whoever to do this. The cost would be this, and perhaps we sign on all the way, perhaps we sign on partially. But I do think it's something that has value to be looked at. But I think we're past the entry process, and I think we're ready for the process of what it looks like to fund and how to fund it, but with partners and ourselves. That's my opinion. Commissioner Schutte.
Commissioner, is that different than the document included in here that from WSU?
Well, from what I understood, though, they're not even sure, and that this isn't regarding our assessment. An assessment in another county is a whole nother animal when you're looking at different amounts. I'm curious. I'd like to see a proposal, an actual proposal, because I think personally, I think we're ready to go on something like this. I think it's necessary, and I think we're ready to go. The question has been who's going to do it. So if you have an actual proposal, then maybe we talk to a few of the other partners out there to work it out, and then the county pay the rest or something like that. We could take on the whole thing, but I'd like to see, before I say I want to take it on, how much will it really cost in today's dollars right now?
So the attachment that you all received from Washington State University is the proposal to do the study for Mason County.
I don't have that.
And that's in your agenda, and it's listed as
Yeah.
one.
Go ahead, Commissioner, with your questions while I'm looking at that.
Yeah, I don't have necessarily any questions. Colleen came and presented to the Housing and Behavioral Health Advisory Board as well. So this was the recommendation of the advisory board to have the commission consider funding this and entering into the agreement. So I don't have any particular issues with it. I think the main thing is us figuring out how to pay for it, which is usually the bigger of the issues on these things anyway. And I think as far as using ARPA money, I hope we get some of the money back from the Housing Authority, and this might be a way to utilize it to still support their mission in our community. I mean, ideally, if we had a functioning housing authority, they would be able to handle these types of processes, but it feels like we're still back, at square one with them and their ability to take something like this on. So I do think it will ultimately, if we go this route, will be a county project that is done in support with Washington State University. So
Colleen, do you see any other partners that may kick in?
You mean as far as the housing providers ourselves?
Or anybody that would want to kick in to pay for this, help pay for the study?
So far,
5,000, 10,000, 20,000?
Yeah, so far I have I haven't found anyone willing. I'm making a presentation to the Realtors Association, and I think, Randy, you might have even been the one who suggested that would happen. So I'm meeting with that group on Friday. I'm doing a presentation to them. So where we can find the need, we will find some, but we went to the county, obviously, because we knew that there might be a chance for funds available there. You're the largest source for us to get those types of funds, but if not, then obviously it's going to be on the backs of the homeless service providers to see if we can find who we can to help fund this. So I'm
Personally, I think you have good partners with us here with that that we're looking to help. One of the things that Commissioner Schutte, the problem that I see with the ARPA funds is we've already agreed that we're going to take in money and then go back out for proposals. I don't know that they want to spend the time to do that. I actually believe we have funds to do it, but I'd love to see some type of partnership where somebody's picking up some of it.
Well, what I meant was we would just take whatever the ARPA money that came back was, and we would fund this as the county as the contractor, not back to the housing authority to have them do it. I'm very uninterested in having the housing authority.
That ain't what I meant. I meant we already agreed that monies we get back from ARPA will go back into the pot to be reallocated as applications come in. I'm just saying I'm not a big fan of just jumping in front of that and changing what we had already.
And I didn't say to do that. I said that this would be potentially an eligible use for that.
I agree.
And I would prefer to use let me finish on this while we're on that topic. I would rather use ARPA money to do this than general fund money to do this, because that's the alternative.
Okay,
right?
so that's what you're saying then. Because I believe I have no problem with us paying for I'd rather see us pay for part of it, because I always like the idea of partnerships coming in for something like this. But if they have the time to wait, I have no problem putting it back in through ARPA funds, because I do think that is a perfect allocation of the funds. But it still would put me in the position I'd still like to hopefully maybe the realtors kick in 5, maybe other ones kick in 5. If we have that as a goal, we get a few partners on board. I think it's just a better way to do things, since everybody will be impacted by it.
I just have if the realtors want to kick in money, that's fine. But I'm not real high on the fact that we would ask our homeless providers or housing providers to do that when we're also paying them out of other county sources. I want to see what they have going into services and getting people housed. And so that's why I think considering ARPA funding is the cleanest way to do it. But if you would know the Realtors Association better than us, and so if you feel like they have a fund source available that they would be interested in contributing to this, then that's a different conversation. But I don't know if I would want like Crossroads or Coyote to take from their limited resources to fund this when we have potentially another pot of money that the housing authority hasn't been able to use.
Yeah, and I personally think that they should fund some, because it'll be a great benefit for them. But at the same time, I don't mind going forward. But we just that sounds like it's we're just putting in the list until we reallocate ARPA funds. I'm in favor of that if that's what we're talking.
Sure.
Okay. Mark, when were we talking about bringing back the ARPA funds to be reallocated?
We were basically waiting on some kind of truing up the numbers. So the Mason County Housing Authority currently has an accountant working with them to prepare financial statements, and that individual is also working with us to kind of identify potential expenses incurred that would qualify for the funds that we gave them, and then determine the total amount that we'd receive back. So that's probably the biggest sum of money that we expect to receive back. And then we do have some other funds that we've already determined will go back into that pot. So I guess my guess would be April timeframe. I'm also wanting to make sure that we get it back in time to give people in time to spend it, right? Because we wanted things obligated by June of 2024. So definitely would like to see that get done as soon as possible.
So Colleen, could you get a hold of our staff, Jennifer Byerly, to see how to put in a application to have it be a request from the ARPA funds, please?
Sure.
if you could do it sooner rather than later, because it sounds like we're only probably a month out of re-looking at these funds on how to put them out.
I'd be happy to.
Colleen, I can connect you with Jennifer.
Thanks, Melissa.
And
Appreciate it.
Jennifer's actually out of the office until the end of March, so
There you go.
I'll work with Kate to make sure we get that application out to you guys.
And Commissioner Schutte, if you change your mind, this isn't something I don't mind spending out of the general fund. It doesn't necessarily have to be out of ARPA for me, because I think that ARPA funds will be spent any which way we need to do it. And I do think this is a priority issue for trying to bring in other developers. And I know you've met with other developers, as have I. If we could show better numbers, we have a better chance of bringing them in for low-income multifamily housing.
Mhm. Well, I think what Jen's proposal was for ARPA would essentially do that, but I would be more comfortable actually getting the money back from the housing authority before we committed to spending money. I think that's my hang up here.
Nope, I got you. I understand they have the check. I thought they were already taken care of, but I guess there's been our staff or somebody has found more opportunities for that money to be used or something. Is that what you're saying?
It's actually the accountant that the housing authority hired to come in and help them create financial statements. That individual is trying to work through the records that the housing authority has to identify potential expenses that we had not already included. So right now, Kate is actually working with that individual to true up what those numbers are. And then if we can lower the dollar value of what the housing authority has to pay back to the county because they had legitimate expenses associated with that original contract, that's our goal.
But to make sure that we get that money back in the account before anything could possibly happen, it could be spent on anything else is a key point. So maybe we give them a drop dead date of when we have to have that. Other than that, we already have an amount that needs to be paid back.
Perfectly happy doing that if that's how the commission would like to move forward, and we can cut it off and say, here's the information that we received and this is what we're going to go with and pay us back this dollar amount. Through previous conversations, I thought that the commission wanted us to work with them to see if there were additional expenses that would lower that liability.
I do, but I thought we also said it could be done through reimbursement after the fact, but if not, isn't that what you would discussed at one point? If
yes, we originally said that go ahead and return the remaining funds. It was about oh gosh, I'm not going to say it because I can't remember it off the top of my head. But we said return the funds and we'd be happy to enter into a reimbursement contract with you. At the time, the housing authority was not interested in getting into another reimbursement contract. So
I think my personal opinion is there should be a drop dead date on that.
Yep.
So maybe
I can
2 weeks.
absolutely do that. Yep, I can. So it appears that we're going through details right now with Kate and reviewing the information that was provided to us. So I would hope maybe by the end of this week, I'm sure that Kate will be able to get through it. As long as we receive the documentation that we would require to substantiate any additional payments, then hopefully we can get that wrapped up soon.
Okay, and other than that, we do a drop dead date and we get the check in the bank, right?
Absolutely. No, I can make drop dead dates. That's easy if you guys support that.
Commissioner Schutte, do you support that?
Yeah, we've set a lot of drop dead dates. So like here we are again. So
Yep.
We're great at setting drop dead dates. They're not great at complying with them. So keep that in mind.
All right, Colleen, do you have any more questions for us?
I don't. Just wanted to say thank you for giving us the opportunity to present this, and I appreciate your willingness to listen and entertain it, and hopefully we'll be successful in getting that funding.
Sounds like you're probably going to be, so start the preparations and
I will.
yeah, Commissioner Schutte, do you have anything else for Colleen before we go back to Melissa?
I do not.
Thank you. Melissa, thank you, Colleen.
Thank you, Colleen. That's all I've got today, commissioners. Thank you.
Dave, got anything else?
On the 13th, we will be meeting with Department of Health and going over the new guidance for COVID, what to do with COVID in the workplace. CDC came out with new guidelines 2 weeks ago, and DOH takes a while to work it through their process. So we're working through the process. We should have that done on Wednesday. I'll be getting that out to HR and to Mark as soon as I've got it.
Is there any red flag things that you're seeing with that? Anytime I hear that, I get nervous. So
No, it basically it's making it much more like how you deal with the flu or with RSV. But we need Washington to run it through the Attorney General's office and then through their PIO before they can put it out to us.
okay, thank you. Commissioner Schutte, you have anything for Dave?
I do not.
Neither do I. Thank you, Dave.
All right, thanks.
Have a great one.
You too.
Next up, Public Works, Loretta.
Morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Well, first up, we have a request to set a public hearing to establish changes to our utilities code and to set new rates for our water and wastewater facilities. And Richard can share some details on that.
Morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
All right. So yeah, as Loretta said, it's time to talk about rates and not only rates, but codes that are included in this rates as well. The entire utilities section has been needing updating, as well as a couple other chapters that relate to it. Just letting you know that we're going to set public hearings. We haven't set them yet, but we've been working on the rates and the rate structure and comparison data to be able to share. And yeah, just wanted to let you know that we are hopefully requesting a board set a public hearing for April 23rd, 2024 at 9:15 a.m.
Commissioner Schutte.
Yeah, so I'm good with setting this hearing on our calendar. And when you say you're working on setting public hearings, do you mean with the individual communities like we discussed at the workshop? What's the status of those?
Correct. Yeah,
Yes.
that's what we're right in the middle of setting those meetings up with the communities.
So our tentative dates, Commissioners, that we're looking at are March 28th with the Russellwood community and April 4th with Beards Cove and April 8th for North Bay and Belfair.
For North Bay and Belfair at the same location?
Yes, just different times, Commissioner Netherland.
Okay. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah, have an open house and meetings, say, for example, from 5:30 to 6:30 for one, and then follow up 6:30 to 7:30 for the other.
Can I ask you to put Belfair first and then the other, because
Yeah,
of the opportunities that there may be for changes in the rates more with one than the other, and I'd
Yes.
rather not get the two confused.
yep, absolutely. Yeah, and that's kind of what I was thinking as well, Belfair first.
Okay.
Yeah.
Commissioner Schutte, any ideas or thoughts?
No, sounds great.
I do have a question for the commissioners real quick. Sorry to interrupt you, Loretta.
Yeah, no worries.
Not sure how long it takes to go through a public hearing. Sometimes if we do our homework and get our information out, then the public is aware of it and we don't have any individuals that are concerned coming to testify. We also, on April 23rd, have the short-term rental workshop scheduled. And that will start at 10 a.m. So if we feel that we can get through a regular agenda and a public hearing on the 23rd, then I'm happy to do that. Just wanted you to be aware that that short-term rental workshop is also occurring on the
Did you say
23rd.
23 or 28? I'm sorry.
23rd.
23rd.
Okay. What else you got, Loretta?
Okay, just kind of some quickie updates, Commissioners. Like to welcome Peter Batista. And we recently hired Peter as an engineer too, and he started work last week. So we're super excited to have him on board. And he comes from NRCS and had retired early and said, I don't know about this retirement business, I want to keep active and busy, and so we're very glad to have him on board.
Welcome.
Yes,
Great news. Haven't had an update like that in a while.
I know. Obviously, we're very excited. And then a quickie update on our progress. When Commissioner Trask comes back, we'll be ready to talk a bit more about the $250,000, commissioners, that you allocated towards design work in Belfair. And we will have some scenarios and options for you to take a look at and decide whether or not to reprogram that design that currently was planned to go over to the industrial commercial area just north of the railroad tracks and west of SR3. So we'll have a map, we'll have a summary of current connections, who within the Belfair UGA currently is not connected, and where we're seeing and anticipating future development and what might make sense. So if there's anything else, commissioners, that would be helpful to you to consider or inform reprogramming, please let us know.
Loretta, I have to go back for a minute on the dates. Why April 8th? Is there a reason for that? Because that's my chemo day.
Oh, no. That can be certainly rearranged, Randy. Tuesday, let's see, the 8th or the 9th is a Tuesday, is that correct?
Yes, the 9th is a Tuesday.
Yeah, if that works for you, that would be fine as well.
It definitely works better because coming straight out of chemo over there may
You
not
bet.
be the best way to go.
Yep, nope, absolutely. We can do the 9th.
Thank you.
I just don't want to get too much further beyond that to make sure that we're wrapping everything up and comments and having
Right.
that prepared ahead of the hearing.
And I don't like for asking for anything special, but I could something like this, just knowing past history. This is one day I want to have a little bit of strength in my pocket.
Absolutely. Can do. Okay, let's see what else. And then I've got a draft letter of appreciation that once Mark gives it a go over, we can get that out to commissioners to take a look at for our delegation. And I listed here that we've got the Belfair sewer expansion and $103 for the Beards Cove work. We also received $250,000 for just general water and sewer improvements as well. So that's very appreciated.
Yeah. Well, I'm
And
curious.
we'll put that to work as well.
I'm curious what that may have come from. We probably want to ask our legislators, because remember they came and sat before us for a while. I'm wondering if they took something out of that meeting that we all had. I'd sure love to honor their intentions.
Yes, yeah, it looks to me as though last session there were some dollars programmed for Rochester, the Grand Mound system there that has not been utilized, and so they reallocated.
But I'm wondering that the reason why
Oh,
I'm asking what their intention was is we spent a lot
Gotcha.
of time talking about rate reduction
Yes,
for I think it was Russellwood. Am I remembering that correctly, Commissioner Schutte?
Yeah, I think it would be good to get some clarification.
Yeah.
See if there are what the strings attached are, so to speak.
yeah, it's pretty wide open at this point.
But let's find their intention, because they listened to us. Maybe they went and fought for this for something in particular. If not, then we have a lot more leeway. But if they did, I want to honor their intentions.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, and then the other item related to that is that Richard, Mark, and myself have been working on a work plan to bring back to commissioners related to the Belfair expansion. So that's underway as well. Also have a letter to shoot out for you to take a look at for Republic Services. Thank you. And then Richard is here to share with you. We're getting a treatment plant permit renewal finally. How many years after the fact that you applied, Richard?
I'm not even gonna complain. It's actually, they're moving faster than I've seen them moving in a long time, so that's fine. We got new people at ecology, new blood in there. It's kind of a good thing. So yeah, we've got a 30-day comment period. Ecology, this should be going out on the street this week. For the Russellwood treatment plant, there's not a lot of changes, nothing that was too shocking to me. We had a couple of performance-based limit changes based on what we do on a normal basis. Our like fecal coliform limit dropped significantly, but that wasn't shocking because it's a performance-based limit. We've had no problem ever meeting that performance outside of equipment failure issues. One thing that you'll notice also is the fact sheet is out too, and it shows a compilation of all the treatment plant violations between 2018 and 2023. I'd say 99% of those are flow-based outside of our control. There's two that are in our control that were fecal-based limit violations. One of those, the first one was the lamps. They're very expensive lamps and lenses were degraded to the point where we had a violation, and we quickly changed those out. And then the next was 2-3 years later, we had a wiring issue in the fecal or in the UV system, which we corrected that week, and that is it for that plant. As far as performance of that plant, for what it's designed to do is remove nutrients, organic loading, and solids. During that period of time, as far as organic strength, we averaged 97% removal rate for a 5-year period. And as far as total suspended solids removal, it ranged right at 96% removal rate. So that plant does operate very, very well. It meets all of our needs. There's a couple items that, we'll address. And it's a common hazard with all of them is I&I. That's our biggest enemy. And we will be developing a more detailed plan on how to address that for all of our systems, because it's just something you have to keep up on.
Okay.
There's a couple other items before I get the big items. One.
Come on, Richard.
Our outfall, it's been damaged. It was separated, the manifold from the pipe. They identified that back in 2017, Bart, and I can't remember who the public works director at the time was, tried to address that on their own.
We're talking Russellwood, right?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Yep, no problem. It's not well, they're not really in a big hurry. They're not like beating my door down to fix it, but they have put in the necessary required language to make me deal with it. So two new special conditions, S9 and S10. S10 is a receiving water study. One, that'll help us design what we need to design as far as an outfall. And the other is actually an engineering report detailing how we are going to address it and on what time frame. So those are the two new conditions.
Well, and that's a cost. Perhaps that's something that you could ask Representative Griffey and Couture and see if that money, because either which way you look at it, if we do it and we take on more debt to do it, it still comes out the same for rate reduction.
Right.
If they're willing to let it be utilized for that, or if they're okay with that.
Well, and this will be my time or Mason County's time to provide comment back to Ecology, saying we recognize, thank you for your effort in providing this with this draft permit. Some of these are expensive, could be kind of costly things like a 3-year water quality study. To maybe even, they recognize the hardship that would place on us and give us a more decent time frame to work to, find the funding.
Okay. Okay, what else you got?
The others are just items, commissioners, to keep track of, and I know we're running a little bit behind, so if there's anything on there that you want me to touch on, I'm glad to, and otherwise, and something that's not
Well,
on here, Commissioner Netherland, is the vouchers, so.
Well, I've got a few things, but I'm
Sure.
curious about what you have on your list, though. I'd love to have a quick update on Island Lake traffic calming and Beeville Loop.
Yeah, so those two items, I spoke with Mike earlier. I apologize. He had to go out and take a look at something in the field. But Beeville Loop, we just need to set a date about when we may want to meet with the community about the road that is currently closed. And we have no immediate plans, so to open that at this time. So just
We
wanting
haven't
to set a
removed it yet, have we?
Oh, yeah, it's, the culvert's been removed. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's right. That's that.
Yep. Yeah, and then Island Lake, it's just a matter of format in terms of getting our survey out and reviewing draft survey questions with commissioners ahead of sending that out.
Commissioner Schutte, did we have a request to eventually get some type of options on Beeville Loop that you remember?
Well, I thought that was part of what the Trouts Unlimited study was going to help us consider. We know what the solution is if you're going to reopen the road, right?
Yes. We've got a pretty good idea what that solution is, a very big bridge.
I think it's a matter of presenting those realities to the community and getting some feedback from them. I don't think there's like some cheap magic bullet for it.
Yeah.
No. And we really don't, the work that Trout Unlimited will be doing is a full reach analysis that is looking at habitat both up and down for quite a stretch beyond the culvert that we removed. And I'm not sure that that's I don't believe we have to wait for them to complete that work, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is to show folks out there the sort of the scope of the problem, not just with that particular culvert, but in the area itself, how many other culverts are there, and what the liability is to the county long term to work on those, and then also to have an opportunity to talk about all the projects that are programmed for that part of the county as well, to show that we are making investments out there.
Okay, and on the vouchers, did we ever decide what to do with the one voucher though? Because I never heard back on what to do with the one voucher. I know you're looking at the long term, but the one voucher for the White Witch group that does the cleanup.
Yeah, no, I don't have an answer yet, Commissioner. I'll get to that today.
Yeah, please do so I can answer back to them because I'm leaving them hanging now. Okay, so I have something completely different. I had a message here. Brad Carey has a request for they've run into a problem as they're doing the work that they've done out there. They needed to have holding ponds on the side in order to take up some of the gravel that was coming down. They weren't allowed to. Then the rain event happened and put everything back into the place that they were taking it out. And they're having a meeting with Fish and Wildlife on the 15th. The request is a special request that we have county staff there, specifically you or Rod LaRue, with a special request more for Rod LaRue. And the reason being because of his knowledge with those type of ponds. I want to make a recommendation. I recommend that we actually do send somebody out there to help with that process, but that it actually be Rod for another reason. The higher the director position, it could be construed as more than just information coming out, and the idea of having the supervisor and not the director, less chance that information like that can be construed as a directive.
Yeah, I actually spoke with Brad and the meeting got rearranged, Commissioner.
Okay.
So it's happening right now as we speak.
Is Rod out there?
I don't know if Rod is out there.
Can we call him to get him out there? I think it's important. want this to be held up, and there's no need for more lawsuits out there if it can get done.
I don't believe it will be held up or there will, yeah, I think they're fine. Brad felt that he was fine. He was concerned that Fish and Wildlife would be pushing back, but I feel that he feels confident that he's getting what he needs.
Yeah, well, sure would be nice if you could send Rod out there anyway with his knowledge. That's what it sounded like on the recording that he needed, was just that backup. It would
Yeah.
make sense to me. We need it too. Because it's starting to get come close to crossing over that bridge down there during the storms on our road. So having this stuff done is beneficial to the county as well.
Oh, absolutely. And we've been monitoring and coordinating, and Brad's been great in communicating.
So yeah, if you don't mind, if there's no objection, get Rod out there and see if he can just be there for support so we can at least keep this thing moving.
All right.
Thank you.
You bet.
Let's see, I think that's what I have. You actually took care of the other one. Okay. Commissioner Schutte, do you have anything else?
I do not. Covered my items. Thank you.
Same here. Thank you, Loretta.
You bet. Thank you, commissioners.
Okay, Mark, you're up.
All righty, I got the John Taylor show for you this morning. Mr. Taylor? Oakland Bay? There he
Morning,
is.
Commissioners. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. I just wanted to give you a brief update on Oakland Bay. We were going to talk about a contract, but we actually found a park host who'll be starting at the end of the month. So that's the update on Oakland Bay. So we will have somebody out there which will be filling the park host by the end of the month.
Excellent.
And so in the meantime, John, are you having the individual open the gate?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. So it'll just be a little holdup because due to the fact that we really didn't want to enter into a contract with such a short period of time. So there might be some change in hours, but we'll post that to ensure people know what that is and that it'll be for a limited period, not to exceed by the end of the month.
So we had a local resident that was willing to go out and open the gate on the weekends so that individuals could enjoy that park.
The other piece, which is I wanted to brief you on the pump out at Sand Hill, which by the time we were done was an expensive amount of money. It was over $15,000, but we used REIT 2 to pay for that. So that's been all taken care of and updated. The pump is built so that it isn't on a consistent basis, but turns on and off regularly. So that way it runs at a lower pressure when they're using less water. So it should last longer than the one that was currently out there. Are there any questions on that?
Not for me.
The final part is a gang mower. We were hoping to use REIT 2 to purchase a new gang mower, and I provided pictures. As you can see, the deck is rusted completely through, and it's not real safe. However, the third-party accountant that we had that looked at it said that REIT 2 was not authorized to pay for that. So we were hoping that we could delay the purchase of the gang mower until the next fiscal year, since by the time we got the word on allocations for this fiscal year.
Why did they say it was not an allowable use? That doesn't make any sense to me, because I understand REIT pretty well. So, and the whole reason and purpose behind it literally is for the maintenance and stuff for the parks. So who said it's not, and why?
Is it just because it's not capital, it's just equipment?
So we had a review performed through financial services with the private CPA firm, and they came in and one of the items that they were reviewing this year was real estate excise tax and how we used it. They came back to us with some challenges that Jen and I worked with Tim Whitehead on to kind of truth out how the county has spent real estate excise tax money in the past. What they've said is that we can use it for maintenance, but we can't use it for equipment. And so that is a difficult part. So it's because it can be a nuance. So for instance, the well and the pump in the well is something that's necessary for the park to operate. So that absolutely is. I would qualify that mowers are also necessary in order for us to be able to utilize our parks. But those are items that they specifically had gone through with MRSC as examples and said, no, the recommendation that we received back from the accountant and MRSC was that equipment purchased for routine maintenance is not allowable. Be happy to provide that information to you, Commissioner Netherland.
Yes, please do. Just, our history is we've always been able to, and I know lobbying and everything else that we've done in the past as a realtor, which was with that real estate excise tax, that was part of the discussions and so intention. So if it's changed, I'd love to know how and when it changed. But so yeah, if you'll share that with me. But other than that, I'm comfortable with you go ahead and putting it off unless we have it within our funds, which I think this is a necessity, but I'd like to just wait and see if there's another bubble to change how we're viewing that REIT fund, because that's where it really should come out of.
Be happy to share that information with you, and then we can decide how to move forward on it.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Schutte, you have anything on that? Any ideas? Or you've been around for 8 years. You've been doing it too.
Yeah, no, I mean, I guess I'll wait to hear more. I mean, if you feel like we can delay it, it does look like it's in kind of rough shape, so I don't want anybody to injure themselves for sure. But if you feel like we can hold off, or at least hold off until we are all comfortable with the analysis on allowances under REIT, then I'm okay with that.
Well, and commissioners, I'd like to ensure that we'll try to move forward on that very quickly since we're running into baseball season.
Yeah.
And that's going to be an important piece of equipment to ensure that we're able to keep our fields in great shape and safe.
Commissioner Schutte, would you rather fight this battle on at another time and just go for allocating the funds out of something else?
I mean, I'll kind of defer to John, I guess, on that in terms of necessity. I would be comfortable buying it if they felt like it was something that we needed to do now. So
As would I. What are you telling us, John? Talk to us.
I'm thinking it would be safer, sir, looking at the pictures, and since we're moving into ball season, we use it in all our fields, that we find a way to pay for it now and continue to move forward with the REIT 2 questions. But I would hate to delay and then have it break completely and then not have anything.
Do you have enough within your budget to do that as we before we have to do any supplementals?
I do not.
You do not.
I will have to look and see, just because we're running rather lean.
Nope, I get you. Mark, what are you thinking?
Well, I think that the safest route to go would be find some additional funding to do this. I definitely think that it's needed, and I feel like once we get this piece of equipment in, I feel like our Parks Department will be fairly well equipped to maintain all of our parks. We got them some new trucks and some new trailers last year. We got them a couple new pieces of equipment in the past. I think this is definitely a heavily used piece of equipment that's necessary. So my personal recommendation would be find money out of the general fund to actually pay for this gang mower. And then we can determine how we want to move in the future based on the recommendations that we've received.
I would support that, Commissioner Schutte.
I would as well. What's the average lifespan on this? Like, how old is the one that we currently use?
Oh man, I have to go back and look, sir. It's old. We've had it a while. Yeah. Well, I mean, if you look at it, it's been rode hard, put away wet. I mean, it's one of those pieces of equipment that we keep up and it lasts long. But again, because of the active use, and we only have one, we use it everywhere. So it lasts a long time, but not forever.
Well, I think you have agreement, Mark. Let's go ahead and find how to do it, and then let's just make it happen. But let's figure this out, because this is too important of a thing for the future that we're going to be having to battle that out when we've always counted on using those REIT funds for this.
Yeah, I forwarded you an email, Commissioner Netherland, that kind of started that conversation. I'd be happy to follow up with you on some more details of research that Jen and I did with Tim.
Thank you.
I can also do that with you, Commissioner Schutte, but I think the question I got for you, John, is with this gang mower that you guys are looking at to purchase, we have verified that would fit on our trailer.
Yes, sir.
Great, thank you.
And I will go back and verify that with Bud, but that was a conversation that we did have.
Yep.
Okay. John, do you have anything else for us?
No, sir, that's it.
Okay, I have something for you guys. Commissioner Schutte, do you have anything for them? Okay.
No,
I got some phone calls I'd like to touch base on. I asked them to call you, John, on part of it, and then I asked them to call Mark on another. We seem to have had an issue with some of the sports league out there. One that paid for mounds and stuff, and now there's an inability and they're having a hard time using them because of something. I asked them to talk to you, John, because they're talking about changing the infields, and that's a bigger thing. I want to be able to service as many of our youth groups as we possibly can as my personal goal and what I'd like to see. That's just my personal. But they have to go through a process in order to do that, and I've asked them to get a hold of you. And as for Mark, I guess there was some type of mix-up on field, which would probably be John as well, field usage, and there was a question about daylight times, but then that took in only daylight savings time or beforehand, and now they've opened it up and we've given it to the times that the kids needed for their games and their practices over to private entities. Because of whatever that mix-up is, and I asked him to call you. I don't know if they called you yet, Mark. Oh, looks like he's finding out. So John, do you know anything about the mounds and the issues going there in the infield?
I have a portion of it, so I'm getting into contact with them now to sit down so I can get the full weight of what's going on, because I've kind of been on the other side of it. So I've gotten a lot of around the piece. So I want to sit down with them and find out exactly what it is. What I understand about the scheduling part is we do have a new scheduler. She did follow the rules, which right now the current rules say that practice goes for 2-hour blocks. They scheduled for 2 hours. The bigger league scheduled for 2 hours. They went over, it lapped, and there were some challenges. So I'm going to go back and clarify that with them to ensure that they understand that if they need more than 2 hours, they need to schedule it. But because Ann's no longer here, that sounded like that was something that Ann did for them, knowing that they traditionally went over. But with Cassidy and they're now being brand new, and myself, we were going directly by the rules. So we're going to ask them.
You can imagine it might be a problem if they've always been doing business in a certain way and told to do it a certain way, and then all of a sudden it changes. If you don't have the fields for the kids to use for their practices, we're going to have a problem. There's only so many fields to use, so hopefully we find a way to help each other out on that stuff.
Oh, absolutely, sir. We're just asking them that they're going to go 2 periods to schedule it. What they did do was 1 period, and traditionally Ann scheduled them for a second. We didn't know that. So we've asked them to fill the form out completely. So that way we know exactly what they want, and we can ensure that the field's scheduled for the time that they need it.
So that was the confusion is daylight to them. Originally it was 1 block, where it's actually 2 blocks after daylight savings time changes.
It absolutely is, sir.
I get you. I understand that. Okay, that's all I had. Mark,
all right, sir, that's all I have. Anybody have any questions for me?
Nope. Thank you, John.
All right, thank you.
Mark, what's next?
Alrighty, next I got Becky Rogers.
Hi, Becky.
Good morning. So last Monday, you gave approval, excuse me. So last Monday, you gave approval for the Board of Equalization to place a news release on the March 12 Commissioners' agenda to seek applicants to fill an alternate member position. Since that date, we have 1 regular member position that has become vacant also. And so we're requesting approval to place this revised news release on the agenda to seek applicants for a regular member position in addition to the alternate member position.
Yeah, I'm okay with it, but I don't want to call it permission to put it on the agenda as much as just changing the verbiage we have so that we don't have to change our agenda. Mark, how are you feeling about that? If we just change the verbiage to allow for that.
I'm perfectly fine with that. Just need to, I mean, whatever goes publicly, we need to make sure it matches what was in our agenda, so.
But we're real close to not putting more on Mackenzie, right? We don't have anything new that she has to change?
I'll have to check with Mackenzie. If we can do it, then, uh-oh.
Isn't it just broad enough? I mean, doesn't it just say Board of Equalization vacancy news release? And I mean,
Yes,
That's what I thought, yeah.
yeah, we're good.
Okay, and if we're almost done with this day, if we can give them one time where we don't expand on the agenda, it'll be a big victory. Okay, so that's what we'll do, Becky. Just go ahead and
Thank you.
take it under that. Thank you. Mark?
Alrighty, Diane, you're gonna talk to him about Child Abuse Prevention Month?
Yes, we had a request from Roger Jones, Family Education and Support Services, to declare April 2024 as Child Abuse Prevention Month. Is the board good for the March 26th agenda for that?
Commissioner Shooty?
Yeah, I am.
Yep.
Thank you. And then we would also like to place on that agenda selection of the official county newspaper, which is the local Shelton Mason County Journal.
Yep. Commissioner?
Good with me.
Yep.
Thank you.
So the last item I had on my list was request for the commission to approve these letters of support for PUD number 1. They are sending some letters to our congressional delegates to request support for some of the projects that they have out here. One of them is a power project that would allow them to make their grid more resilient. So there's an area of the county that if a line goes down, then the whole area goes down. And so what they're asking to do is get some funding to add an additional substation that would allow them to feed different parts, so it wasn't all or nothing, and you could potentially backfeed to areas and provide power during a storm.
Absolutely important as all get out. So I'm supportive.
So the other ones that they have asked for are it's a water project. Let me find it here.
Manzanita water, we have it in front of us.
Yep. So it's a 200,000 gallon water reservoirs and booster stations. And this is the Manzanita water storage project.
Are there any of these letters you have any issue with, Commissioner Shooty?
No, they all look good.
Yep, same with me, Mark.
Perfect. So
if anything, I'd like to ask you to reach out to PUD3 because our power infrastructure is just too important. If they need some support from us as well, we should be giving it. If they're going to go to the Congress people, let's go.
Yeah. No, I've actually have monthly administrator meetings that the EDC sets up for us, and these are the types of things that we talk about during those meetings. And so PUD3 is also present at those and clearly understand that the county's here to help support them also. So if they have letters of support that they'd like us to sign on to, I would definitely encourage that and bring them before you guys to take a look at before we sign on them. But I was hopeful that you guys would not have a concern about this. And so this is actually already on the agenda for tomorrow, and we should be able to get those turned around fairly quickly. And that's all that I had for you on my agenda.
Commissioner Shooty, do you have anything for Mark?
I do not.
Neither do I. Thank you, Mark. Please drive through. The only thing left is us. Do you have any commissioner discussion?
I don't think I do.
Neither do I. I will entertain a motion.
Move we adjourn.
I'll second. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody. See you tomorrow.
Thanks.